What is up, my loves? Welcome back to another episode of the Fully Alive podcast. My name is Stephanie Osterman. I'm your girl, your host. And today in this episode, we are going to be getting into how to stand out within your industry and create a league of your own. No, I am not going to take you through a cookie cutter I help statement that says, I help these people do this. Absolutely the fuck not. We're going deeper, okay? So if you felt, whether it's in your career or within your business industry, that there's a lot of people doing kind of similar things to you, and you're like, Steph, how am I possibly going to stand out? The transformation that I create is kind of similar to Susie over here. Well, yeah, of course. That's natural. I love that. We have more leaders in the space. Amazing. However, if you know that you're here to actually create a movement behind your work and take your leadership to the next level beyond just creating the results that you had always dreamt of, beyond just doing the thing and having a business or having a career, you know that you're here to create a movement and create a deeper impact. You have to know that specific thing about you, your X factor, that makes you fit to lead that movement. And the best part is that it's already inside of you. I'm not going to tell you they have to go learn more or read a bunch of books or do a bunch of trainings and get all these certificates. There is something that is so specific within you, because I know that you are not in the work that you're doing for no reason. You're in it because you're here to serve a greater purpose and a greater mission. And so all we got to do is dig in to actually unlock that specific X factor and take your leadership to the next level. So this is specifically for you. If you know that there is such a beautiful magic about what you do with your clients, but when you walk into a room and let's say somebody asks you, what is it that you do? You find yourself fumbling over your words trying to summarize this magic that you create. Because how could you possibly put words to it? It is so incredible. It is so big. It is so impactful. So you settle for these broad, overarching terms that feel like they never fully hit the mark on what you do and the transformation that you bring, and your confidence wavers. You're like, how have I created all this? But for some reason, then I can't talk about it to other people. Of course, to take my brain to the next level, I'm going to have to be able to fully and specifically articulate that thing that makes me different than being just another coach or just another social media expert or just another content creator. You have to know the specific thing about you that puts you, again, in a league of your own. Because the broad and overarching terms, they work up until a point, right? It's like, it's gotten you success, it's gotten you results. However, if you want to take it to that next level, you're likely craving sharper words and a clear definition of your specific expertise, such that your confidence becomes absolutely rock solid, knowing that your expertise isn't just based on a few different successes that you've had, but a lifetime of experience. You desire to rise above the noise of the industry and stand out so that ultimately you can get paid for your purpose at the level that you know is possible for you. And then enter the X factor, baby. Okay. And I'm going to be so honest with you. The reason why I talk about X factor so much is because I struggled with this for so long. When I got into coaching, I was like, okay, so I coach on purpose, right? I help people figure out what it is that they desire for themselves and for their life that's beyond societal programming, that's beyond what they were taught, and really gives them that sensation of fulfillment so that they can take action in the world. Okay. But what makes me actually different? I would look around at other people and be like, well, other people are talking about purpose. Okay. So what I'm doing isn't that different. Yes, I do it in a specific way that for some reason works, but it's not that different. So if I'd go into a room and I just say, oh yeah, I work with people on purpose, it didn't ever hit. It never fully hit because I wasn't fully clear on the specific expertise that I bring to purpose. Right. And so when we're talking about leadership, the mistake that most people will make is that they base their leadership off of what they do instead of how and why they do it. Because the reality is, a lot of people can do what you do. There are probably other people, even if you were to do a quick search on social media or on LinkedIn, and you were to see, are there other people who are in similar positions as you, who create similar transformations as you? Yes, 1,000%, right? Nobody's really reinventing the wheel that much. However, I guarantee they are not doing it for the exact same reason why as you, and in the exact same way as you. There is a specificity about that mission that is so deep in your soul, in your heart, that's a part of your purpose, that backs everything that you do, that could not possibly be replicated. And on top of that, there is a way that you create transformation that you likely don't even see as that cool. Like, you're like, oh yeah, that's absolutely ordinary, because we all have this beautiful, cute little introspective illusion where you'll never understand what it looks like to watch yourself walk into a room, right? Unless you have some super magical powers, like you won't be able to witness yourself walk into a room. Just like you'll probably never be able to fully grasp and be able to witness your own specific genius or your X factor in motion. Other people will see it and maybe give you feedback on it, and their life will be changed by it. But it's really hard to see it ourselves because we're in our own brains walking around with ourselves all the freaking time. So how you think and how you do things feels so absolutely ordinary and normal to you that most of the time you are skating over your genius and saying, oh, well, doesn't everybody think like that? Or doesn't everybody do it in that way? Absolutely the fuck not. I promise. And because of this introspective illusion, what I see so often with high performers is you might settle for using these broad terms or borrowing other people's language or expertise, and therefore playing small when you know that you have a very, very, very big impact purely because you haven't yet sat down and connected those dots on what that specific X factor is. But it's already there. This is the coolest part that I always love. My favorite transformation that I see through clients is when I take them through their X factor and they're like, oh my God, Steph, like the work that I'm meant to do in this world, I've literally been doing it my entire life. Like everything connects, everything. And it has always been inside of me. I just didn't know where to look. I didn't see how to connect all the dots. That is the coolest part. And I see people spend years and years chasing the next certification, chasing the next training. And I love continuing your training and your certs. However, if you're doing it to feel like you need to prove to yourself that you know something, it's never going to fully stick, as opposed to, I know what my X factor is, I know where my gaps are, and this is how I'm going to fill it in. Okay, that's different. And there is something that is so unique to the way that you lead that when you amplify that, that is what creates a solid base for your brand to stand on. Your brand cannot stand on cookie cutter. It just can't. It's not possible. Sure, it might work for a little bit, but is it ever going to feel like fully you? Absolutely not. And so if you want to amplify your brand, first you have to understand what you're amplifying, which is your own specific X factor. It's that thing about you that's different. Imagine if you just amplify somebody else's words, is it ever fully going to stick, right? You're like, oh, well, Susie said that. That sounds really good. I'm going to pull from that. I'm going to pull from that. I'm going to pull from that. And then I'm going to create my brand. Sure, again, it sounds good. But if you really want to create a movement that magnetizes millions, it's got to have this specificity that could only be based on you. You don't have to borrow other people's words. You don't have to borrow what sounds good. I promise you, if you take a few seconds and you actually sit with yourself, you understand what the specific X factor is, you have something that is so unique to you. You know what happens there? The energy is clean. So if we look at growing something, you always know there's a part of your subconscious that knows if you are pulling from other people's words, if you are pulling from what you've heard before, if you are pulling from something that isn't fully you, but it sounds good and it's what's worked for other people, there is a part of you that knows. If you try and scale from that place, does it ever fully work? There's a kink in the energetic line. There's that little part of yourself that will always be worried about being seen on bigger and bigger stages because in the back of your mind, you know that this wasn't fully based on you. And why I just get so passionate about this because I wish that every single human could see just how genius they actually are, and how your past experiences, your innate gifts, and your learned skills all come together to create this specific magic and genius that only you can bring into the world, that only you could create. And it is the most solid foundation to scale anything from. When we talk about quantum leaps, the energy's got to be clean. So if you want to go fast, do what works. If you want to go far, do what's true to you. And especially for my multi-passionate humans who are like, Steph, I want to do so many different things over my lifetime and with my brand. And I don't want to just be boxed in to this one specific thing and this one way of speaking to people. Well, amazing. Your X factor is what creates that overarching thread that is woven through every single one of your offers. Well, you could be talking about social media one day, but then you could also be talking about purpose the next. And then you could be talking about wellness the next. But if it's all woven together by this specific X factor of how you do things and why you do it, it creates an actual cohesive brand. Because the reality is, you're not meant to be boxed in within your life. Oh my God, if we all had to do just one thing completely for the rest of our lives, your purpose is so much bigger than that. And it gets to be fun and expansive. And so when we look at your X factor, I've already kind of mentioned this, but to lay it out super, super clearly for you, it is made up of 3 specific elements. So the first element is your lived experiences. So everything that you've walked through within your life, whether it was your choice or not, on some level gave you something. Maybe some of those lessons are starting to trickle in. Maybe some of them are still formulating. But there are things that you've learned that impact exactly how you do things and why you do things, not only through the lessons and the triumphs that you've been through, but honestly also through the actual lived experiences, like your past work experience, the past businesses that you've started. One of my favorite things to do is to actually go through with clients the past work experience that a lot of the time you will label as it doesn't even relate to what it is that you do now or what you want to do. But in actuality, if you look at those experiences, they were not given to you for no reason. They likely gave you these little specific mini edges that if you were to pull those out, you'd be like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that this was something that could benefit me now within my business or within my career moving forward. On top of that, you also look at the experiences that you had as a kid, how you grew up, the major pivotal life experiences that you've walked through that inevitably have changed how you do things. People say all the time, your mess is your message, where the things that you've walked through give you the specific mission that's behind what you do. Your lived experiences will usually give way to the why that's behind your work. So then we have your learned skills, which is a little bit more straightforward, right? These are these skills that you've gained through work experience, through certificates, through trainings, through education, that are these hard, tangible skills that you know that you're really good at. Maybe it's feedback that you've gotten from work. This is all important information. Okay. The third piece is your innate gifts. So this is what comes naturally to you that you might not even realize. Once again, like as a kid, what were you fascinated by? What do people compliment you on all the time? What do your clients tell you all of the freaking time about your own energy or how you do things? The things that have just always felt like, yes, I know that I'm in my element when I do that. So for example, let's say you've always been a writer. You published a book when you were 18. There is a power to your written storytelling that is absolutely magic. And part of how you create impact in the world is through stories. And to deny that for some sort of cookie cutter strategy that works for other people would be like chopping off one of your arms and literally taking away so much of your magic because it's part of your specific X factor. And how I like to describe looking at your X factor is like a bunch of different puzzle pieces where we are pulling together all of these different parts and then understanding the patterns that are congruent throughout. And it is so wild whenever I see this with clients, how many patterns are so consistent, where you think that you are a random person, but in actuality, if you look at these three different elements, there are going to be patterns that overlap over and over and over, where your eyes will get big and you'll be like, oh my God, I cannot even believe that I've been sitting on this the entire time. It's like literally been right in front of my eyes, but for some reason I couldn't see it until I looked at all these different puzzle pieces and then put it together. It's all pattern recognition. And so there's other little puzzle pieces that I like to bring in, like your astrology, your numerology, and your human design, which I will never claim to live my life by, nor be an expert in any of them. However, there are little specific pieces of each of those that can come in and really give you awesome hints on your X factor as well. But the biggest thing when you're going into your X factor is that you've got to be willing to dig. I think every single person wants this instant gratification of like, oh my gosh, I put X plus Y equals Z, and that's my specific X factor. It goes deeper than that. But remember that you're setting up the solid foundation for your entire brand and for the mission and the movement that's behind your work. And so it is worthy to do the digging. And when it comes to your own specific leadership, your X factor can either be the basis for all of your branding and marketing and be this powerful message that you put out into the world that's in all of your offers, that is woven through all of your messaging, or it can be like this back pocket secret. And this is what I love the most, where sometimes your X factor isn't always front and center in every single thing that you do, but it's this genius in your own personal back pocket where you can walk into a room, shoulders back, head held high, and know that you have something so specific and unique to offer, to know that you have incredible value that starts to get woven through your conversations, where when somebody calls you in and you have a conversation, you're building a relationship, you can actually advocate for what it is that you do and the magic that you create in this world, and you feel that solid backbone behind you. And this little understanding of like, yeah, I know that I'm a genius and therefore I will not settle. I will not bend my standards. I will not stoop lower than what I know that I'm actually capable of. And that is powerful and something that you can own no matter where you are, no matter how much your external validation fluctuates or what your sales look like one day as opposed to the next. Your genius is everlasting and it follows you everywhere that you go. And that's absolutely magnetic. So my loves, my invitation for you is to start to look at these 3 key pieces of your own specific X factor and notice the different patterns that are woven throughout your lived experiences, your innate gifts, and your learned skills that make you who you are, that allow you to stand out. And even better yet, go ask 5 trusted people their hot take on what it is that they receive from you. This could be people in your family that you really trust. It could be really awesome friends, mentors that you have, colleagues that you have within your industry, and ask them for their specific take. Because again, we all have these introspective illusions where we don't always see ourselves incredibly clearly. So if this episode has been super helpful for you and you're like, Steph, yes, I want to dive into my X factor. What is it? Help me clarify it. Let's go deeper. Then we have 2 options for you. Okay. The first is that I have prepared something absolutely fucking insane and completely free just for you that's going to go live next week. And it's my Discover Your X Factor free course. Again, you just get it, which is awesome, where we're going to be diving into each of these 3 elements even deeper. And I'm going to be breaking down and giving you some tangible practices to take this all from education to implementation so that you can start to understand what sets you apart within your industry. You can find the link to the waitlist in the show notes where you pop your email in, and then it will be sent straight to your inbox once it goes live. So you don't even have to worry about missing a single thing. That's the first option. The second option is if you're the type of person who just wants a straight shot to your X factor, you want my eyes on your specific X factor, the thing that I love to do with clients, then X factor analyses are going to be for you. This is where you and I sit down for 90 minutes and I get my hands into your own past experiences, your learned skills, and your innate gifts to really start to understand those common threads, streamline your X factor into one core X factor so that you can then funnel that into your messaging, your offers, and your sales processes such that your brand has an entire cohesive message behind it. No more shuffling around a gazillion ideas on how you're going to take your brand to the next level. No more fumbling over your words or not fully knowing that thing that makes you different. We get to go in and pull that X factor out. It is such a boost in confidence. We have an absolute blast doing it, and you will walk away understanding that clear message that's behind every single thing that you do. So you can find the link to book that in the show notes. There are limited spots open for August, so jump on it if you feel that tug in your heart to go a little bit deeper. And I cannot wait to see you there. I love you all. I hope that this has been a phenomenal 20-ish minutes of your life, and I cannot wait to see you on the next episode. Mwah.